Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And what a wild week one it was. It was raining. I watched 3 games yesterday, and it was just raining in all three of them. The 2 games that I watched that rain was not falling from the sky was Chicago and Green Bay, which was not a great game, and San Francisco and Pittsburgh, which was not a great game. But let's first begin with Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin is back at NFL Network. I didn't know this. I went on my Twitter feed and I see a selfie of Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin. And I thought this was from last year. And it turns out, no. I looked at the timestamp and it says no, 2023. And he was back at work. And then I went and looked, and it said he settled with the Marriott. The Marriott actually settled with his countersue of $100 million. Now, excuse me. From my understanding, Irvin said from really early on in this process that it wasn't about the money. That $100 million was just lawyer speak from we're just throwing out a number. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the maintaining of his innocence and his reputation, which he kept throughout this whole process. The settlement, it's unclear of what it was, but obviously NFL Network felt comfortable enough to bring him back, and they did. And Irvin has also announced that at that time he wanted to go back to NFL Network. It was not like he was against it. I think he was more mad at the fact that the people behind him at NFL Network did not take his side on him saying, I didn't do anything wrong. So, from that perspective, I could have seen why he wouldn't have gone back. But he chose to go back, and the NFL desperately needs somebody who has that kind of energy, especially in the mornings. Now, Irvin was also on ESPN for a short period of time, and he won't go back to ESPN. I think ESPN completely threw him in the garbage as soon as they figured this out. As soon as there was any discrepancy, they threw him away. That's what they did. Now, you bring it Shannon Sharpe, would you have needed him? No. And Irvin is working at Undisputed. We will get to that in probably a later time of how those two shows are working. But as of right now, Irvin is back to work for NFL Network, and the NFL world is grateful for his return. Next up, the rain, as I said earlier, there was a lot of games that happened, a lot of injuries. J.K. Dobbins, John Harbaugh confirmed it looks like a torn Achilles, which again, you hate it when a player gets hurt, especially with a serious injury, but you hate it also when a player who came back from an ACL tear, who last year limped his way to the end of the year, and now a torn Achilles. And I saw people saying, it's the end of his career, hang it up. No. But at the same time, it's like, how many more serious injuries are you going to have? I said this about Broncos' Tim Patrick. He got hurt, tears his ACL in one knee, tears it in another knee the next year. It's terrible. It's terrible. And to continue the ACL injuries, Browns tackle Jack Conklin suffered a torn ACL against the Bengals. So he's out for the year. I want to get into the quarterback play, though, in these games. Joe Burrow did not play well. Dak Prescott did not play well. Deshaun Watson did not play well. Daniel Jones played horribly. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the rain did affect all these quarterbacks and these teams in general. But the scores were not that bad, all things considered. So let's rattle off some of these scores from week 1. Let's first start with the Lions at Chiefs. The Chiefs were favored by 4.5. The Lions pulled the upset of it being 21-20. Kelsey did not play in the game, which, as expected. Now, from what Jay Glazer said, Kelsey, they will continue to work with him, and as long as that knee does not swell up, he's good to go for week 2. But if it does, they're having the conversations of should we play him or not. Now, I think the answer is yes, you should play him. No, it's not because he's healthy, but because your team desperately needs him. You have Kadarius Toney dropping passes that led into interceptions. 3 drops from Kadarius Toney. You didn't have a weapon on third down, a reliable weapon to get open. Sky Moore was pretty much invisible for the majority of the game. Christian Watson was invisible during the game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling made a couple great grabs, but then they never threw his way again, which made no sense. I just keep looking at this wide receiving core. I'm like, without Kelsey, they don't look very good. At least last year they had Mecole Hardman. They had speed. Now they don't have anyone that can really take the top off of a defense on a regular basis. So that's my concern if you're the Chiefs. If you're the Lions, that's how you want to play the game. You want to play the game. We're going to destroy you. Our offensive line is going to beat down your defensive line, and we're going to win ugly games, but we're going to win games 21-20, 24-20, 23-20. Whatever it is, we're going to win games. We're just going to run the ball. Now, I wish they would have given Gibbs a couple chances more than they did, but I liked that Montgomery was the featured back. I liked it. I liked that St. Brown was the featured wideout. I mean, Josh Reynolds had a great game, all things considered. Not as good as Jameson Williams, but a good game. But the one thing that does concern me about the Lions is when they get put behind, can they keep up? That's a concern. Because I don't know. The game never really got away from them entirely. They were down 10 points at one point, but that was it. If a team can really push the issue, that's concerning. But all in all, good game from the Lions, bad game from the Chiefs. And so we're 0-1 in that department. Next up, Eagles at Patriots, who are getting +4. The Eagles sneak out of there with a win. They actually covered the spread 25-20 in a game that the Eagles should have won easily, but the Patriots defense did in fact play well. And this is how this happened. The Eagles they score 10 points immediately. You get a field goal and a pick six. That's a great start. In fact, I actually changed the channel for a little while. I came back after halftime. I watched the Brady ceremony, which was amazing, which we'll talk about. Give me a second. But The Eagles won this game 25-20, where the Patriots really took ownership and really dismantled them in the second half. The defense of the Patriots looks good. The offense looked pretty good. You kept up with the Eagles. Again, week 1, this is not indicative to how the season's gonna go, but you have to be proud if you're the Patriots. You didn't win it, which is disappointing, but you kept up with the team that was in the Super Bowl. You gotta be happy with that. And then the Brady ceremony, you know, I'm gonna make sure I have this right here. Let me make sure I have it. Okay. Tom Brady, first off, he ran out in his jersey and is going to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame by Robert Kraft. Now, normally there is a 4-year waiting period for Hall of inductions into Hall of Fame. Into the Hall of Fame. It's a 4-year waiting period. They are waiving that fact. Brady will be inducted June 12th, 2024 for 6/12/24. And there is no exact rules to it. It's whether or not you want to put someone in. They're waiving it, I guess, it's because Kraft feels like he wants to be around to do it. I don't know exactly what it is. But the I don't mind it. It's better than what Jimmy Johnson is going through with the Cowboys, which is basically, I'm gonna have to just wait here until Jerry decides, okay, you know what, I'm done with this beef. At least let's put you in before we all go and turn to dust. You know, let's do that. So I guess it's better than anything else. So then we move back onto the fact the Patriots, they had a chance to win at the end, wasn't able to. Defense played well for the Patriots. Eagles, they went for it in a weird spot. I don't know why, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad game. Eagles hold on to it at the end. Next up, Dolphins at Chargers. Good game. This was an AFL game, okay? Dolphins at Chargers was an AFL game. We're gonna let this thing go. The Dolphins win this game 36-34. Tua has 466 yards in the air, which was 4th most all time. Tyreek Hill has over 200 yards in receiving. Like they played really well. And props to the Chargers, they played well too. But when you have to, the Kellen Moore system for the Chargers is this: let's score. Let's give a race to 40. That's just the idea. And as you saw, as we get into the Cowboys game, you don't necessarily need to do that. You can still score 40 points, but you don't necessarily need to score or have a race to 40 and then say, okay, defense, now you can take over. Like, no, you don't need to do that. I thought the Dolphins played well, good enough to win. No defense in this game, which was disturbing. But again, week 1, not a lot of players have played. They haven't played together. Tackling is not in the preseason. No one really tackles anyway. You don't play a whole lot, so I thought the Dolphins played well. The Chargers played well too. It was a good game, just no defense. That's all. Next up, the 49ers slaughtered the Steelers, and it was a blowout before the end of the first quarter. The game ended 30-7. The Steelers couldn't do anything. Could not do anything. Kenny Pickett looked lost through the whole game. The Niners really showed that they could run the ball, they could pass the ball. I thought the Steelers' defensive line was actually going to show up. They did not. I don't know if that's because that's how bad the Steelers' D line is, or just how good the Niners' offense line is. But like, all things considered, the 49ers did what they had to do, and the Steelers, again, not indicative. We'll see what happens next week, but not a good showing. And then the final game, because the Bills and Jets play tonight, which my prediction is still Bills win 28-24. But the Cowboys dismantle, destroy, crush, whatever term you want to use, the New York Giants. I want to say this. The Giants, everyone was saying that they're in their Division 2. Talent-wise, they're there, which I will make note of the Chiefs game after of something the commentators said that really got everyone wild up. But in this game, everyone's like, that gap is closer. The Giants are not as far off as the Cowboys and Eagles. Uh, I know this is week one. Okay, I know it's week one. The Cowboys shellacked them. They took them behind the woodshed. And it wasn't the offense. The offense was okay. They had 2 rushing touchdowns. That is what the offense did. Everything else was on special teams and defense. 5 forced fumbles. 5. 7 sacks. 5 forced fumbles. 2 interceptions. 0 points for the Giants. This Cowboys defense looked really good. And they were on everything. Micah Parsons had a sack. Dorrance Armstrong had 2 sacks. Oso Odigizua had 2 sacks. Chauncey Golston had a sack. This was an insane game for the Cowboys. They really came to play. And Dante Fowler had a sack. They had speed everywhere, and the Giants couldn't keep up. And like I said earlier about the Chargers, how they're trying to make it a 40-point game, a race to 40. That's not what the Cowboys were doing here. They were saying, we're going to race to the quarterback. Let's go after him, sack him, hit him. Daniel Jones looked terrified in this game. He was terrified from how fast the Cowboys were moving. Because every chance he got, he either got hit, there was a pressured rush, or he got sacked. It was every time. He threw an interception. Micah Parsons is running him down near the sideline, and he just tries to get rid of the ball, throws it low, thinking that it's an incompletion or it's going to be a catch from my wide receiver. Turns out, no, it's an interception because he threw it right to Stephon Gilmore, who made a great play. He threw an interception before that where it wasn't his fault. He hits Saquon. Saquon has the ball. Trayvon Diggs just destroys him with a great tackle. Ball pops up in the air, gets intercepted by DeRon Bland, gets returned for a pick 6. You can't blame for how this Cowboys team looked. Offensively, they were not very good, but defensively, if they play like that, they are like Micah Parsons said that they were the best team. This Cowboys defense believes they're the best defensive team. They believe that, and Week 1 shows that. They showed that. There was a play Trayvon Diggs got beat by Hodgins. He's running right near midfield, and Trayvon just rips the ball out, and that's it. He just whipped it out, ball comes out, and it's recovered by the Cowboys. That was it. There was no chance that that could happen. That's how good the Cowboys play. The Giants couldn't get anything to go right. The Cowboys got everything on defense to go right. Now, I will make note, the one thing the Giants did not fix this year was the offensive line. That was probably the one thing they should have fixed. You have a second-year player, Evan Neal, out of Alabama. He struggled against the speed rush. The speed rushes are really giving him issues, and he can't stop it. That you gotta fix. You gotta fix the interior. They had a botched snap that led to the blocked field goal. There was a lot going on. They cannot afford to do that. So if I'm the Cowboys, great defense, great special teams. You did miss an extra point, not ideal, but I think that was more because the lasers were facing right towards the kicker. The offense played okay, and you won 40-0. And whoever said the Cowboys were not going to score points, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. But back to the Chiefs-Lions game, and this got a lot of flack on all the social media sites, especially Twitter, which I agree a lot of times Twitter just looks to be mad. You go on Twitter, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth mentioned the whole game Kelsey is not there. That's why the Chiefs team is struggling. Kelsey's not there. They're not referencing Chris Jones at all. Chris Jones isn't playing because he wants a new contract. He wants to be paid more. I get it. I wouldn't do it probably because there's millions of dollars, but at the same time, get it while you can. So for the Chiefs, they did not play without Kelsey, and it was an emotional roller coaster throughout. But if you're the Chiefs, excuse me, that's not your excuse. That shouldn't be your excuse. You went for it on 4th and 25. Why? I have no idea, but you did. I don't know if you just want confidence in you. There was no confidence in your defense. If your defense was guessed, I don't know. They probably were guessed. It's the first game of the year. But you went for it on 4th and 25, and you can't catch it. Kadarius Toney has a first down and a lot more, and he can't catch the ball. Can't bring it in. 3 drops for Toney. The defense for the Lions was not perfect, but it was good. And that was also with the fact that the Chiefs' offensive lineman who was trying to stop Aiden Hutchinson was so far back off the line of scrimmage and was moving off the line of scrimmage and was false starting pretty much on every play. Still, no flags were thrown into the last possible chance that they could throw the flag on it. They still couldn't stop this Lions team. That's how good they were. Mahomes was running for his life. There was a lot of holding calls that were not called. A lot of false starts that weren't called. It was interesting. It was a very interesting game. The point, to the point that Terry McCauley, who worked now for NBC, and the announcers had to go and say, he's leaving really early. He's so far back. He has a wide stance. He's pretty much just all he has to do is stand up, and he's in his position. He doesn't have to do anything. And they said, well, he did this when he was with Jacksonville too. I'm like, why doesn't he get penalized for it? Because he's off the ball. He's not on the line. He's not lined up with the center, which is the rule. So you got it, and you say, well, the lines have to do it. The referees have to do it too. They have to do their job. They didn't do it. They did not do it. It's not the Lions who have to complain about it. It's the referees have to do their job. But at the end of the game, and this is what really made everyone mad, was Tirico, as soon as everyone's dapping each other up and saying good game and all that stuff, Tirico says, well, there's an asterisk in this game because the Chiefs did not have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. What? So, let me ask you something. If the Lions lost this game, is there an asterisk because Jameson Williams was not playing? Or, give me another. When Dak Prescott got hurt last year, and against the Eagles, the Cowboys lose, was there an asterisk because Dak Prescott was not playing? Or later in the year when Jalen Hurts got hurt, was there an asterisk in those 2 games that the Eagles lost because Jalen Hurts wasn't playing? No, there wasn't. There wasn't, and you can go back any point in history, there is no asterisk when a player is not playing. That's football. The guy was not playing. The game doesn't matter like that. You can't put an asterisk because the 2 best players aren't playing. If one guy's not getting paid and the other guy's hurt, it's not going to matter. They are not playing. You have to find a way to win without that, despite that. That's the issue. And once you get to week 1, you also get all these interviews about what is happening, who's this, who's that. And you saw it in the case of like Dak Prescott yesterday. They're talking to Dak before the game, and Dak is always smiling, he's always laughing, always doing that, always having a good time. They go and interview him, and he's so like he looks so focused. Heck, he's got no emotion. He's just completely like you could have silhouetted him, I guess. I'm gonna use that. You could have had just a silhouette and talking to a silhouette the whole time, and he would have said, and it would have been as many facial expressions as Dak was showing. And I think Dak is at this point of his career. He's like, look, you ask me this question every time, and you've asked me this question for 6 months. I'm tired of it. This is what I should say, but I can't say it. So I'm going to say this instead. That's what he did. Which a lot of people say, well, Dak's not happy. Dak is angry. He wants to leave. No, it's just, why do I have to answer this question again? I've answered this question. They asked, what about Mike McCarthy being the offensive play caller? What about Ezekiel Elliott not being here? These are questions he's answered all the time for the last 6 months. I don't think he cares anymore about it. I think he has to focus on the game. So why am I focusing on these 2 questions? But the media will go and say that. And it's not like, again, these quarterbacks did not have a great game. Jalen Hurts fumbled yesterday. The Eagles had a chance to salt the game away, and they run a quarterback draw. He gets hit, ball pops out. Patriots recover, have a chance to score, and make this game a much tighter game, in which they do. They do. So you never know. No quarterback plays well in the rain. Dak Prescott did not play well. Joe Burrow did not play well, but no one will mention that. They'll just mention Dak Prescott. That's the way this works. So what basically I'm saying is there an asterisk if there's a rain? Is there an asterisk if there's this, if there's that? You don't know. You can't say yes and you can't say no. So why did you say yes to it? Makes no sense. I will make note that the Eagles lost a linebacker yesterday, Nakobe Dean, who was with the Georgia Bulldogs, did not play a whole lot last year. He's out for multiple weeks with a foot injury he suffered against the Patriots. A third-round pick from last year's draft, made his first career start. He had 7 tackles before exiting the game, went back to the locker room. He was in a walking boot. It won't require surgery, so he'll be all set. Um, Next up, and I want to say this before we get out of here. Damar Hamlin is going to be a healthy scratch tonight. This came out this morning that Damar Hamlin's going to be a healthy scratch. Hamlin has not played active football since his cardiac arrest incident of last year. I think a lot of people were excited that he was going to try and play, and I said as soon as he would step on the field, he wins comeback player of the year. He's a healthy scratch tonight. Disappointing, but it's what happens. Tonight for the Bills and Jets game, the Manning cast will be back for year 3. And I can actually give you the full Manning cast schedule before we get out of here. The final thing will be the Manning cast schedule. This year, it will be on ESPN2 and stream on Fubo TV. The Manning Bros do 10 games. They will also be streamed on NFL Plus. And hang on, let me make sure I get it. Okay. The first games, they go week 1, week 4, week 5. Okay, here we go. Got it. Week 1, Bills at Jets. I knew they were going to do that game. To me, that's the best game of the week. Week 4 with the Seahawks and Giants. Week 5 with the Packers and Raiders. Week 7 with the Niners and Vikings. Week 9 with the Chargers at Jets. Week 10 with the Broncos at Bills. Week 11, Eagles at Chiefs. That is the week of Thanksgiving, I believe. Week 13, Bengals at Jaguars. Week 15, Chiefs at Patriots. They also get the playoff game, with the wildcard game, which is TBD. But that's the Manning cast schedule. I can't wait to see what the Mannings have up their sleeve for week 1 in the game between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. The Aaron Rodgers debut in the Big Apple. For NFL World, I'm Jake Peebert. Out.